Okay, so hopefully this is going to be a quick one. I'm getting some questions about how to assemble this magazine that I've made, so I'm going to show you now. Tools wise, all you need is an Allen key for whatever the button head screw, and some tweezers, but you might not need those. So it comes about, I'll take it apart so you can see. There's a nut there, so we'll take that out, spin it out really quickly. I'm holding the rotor down because it's under spring tension. That comes really tight fitting. That comes off that. I call this the biscuit. That's what holds it down. So if you can see now how it works. So the nut and bolt hold this little biscuit down, and that stops the rotor coming off its shaft, rising up in the magazine, keeps it in place. But it doesn't press down on the rotor at all, so it doesn't cause friction. Just keeps it in place. Now all that's holding this now is the spring. So if we tip it over, or actually let's just show you this way. So just get something on there to lift it up carefully, and you'll hear the spring go. There you go. Now I don't have any holes in the bottom of the magazine, so on the spring I don't like turn it 90 degrees and just shove it through one of these holes. So what I've done instead is I've actually put a hole, if you can see that, in the central post. I'll use the tweezers now to get this fella out. Okay, so there you go. So that's how you have to arrange the spring, so it sticks the leg of the tail of the spring sticks into itself, because it actually goes into a hole that's let's get a pointer for you, pencil here. So the hole is there, right at the bottom. Quite hard to see in black, isn't it? Should have done this in green. Right at the bottom of this central pivot shaft, spin shaft. There's a hole there going that way. Now in the lid, all there is a simple cutout. I don't know if you can see that there. There's a simple cutout there, you can see that. And so at the top of for the top part, all you have to do is have the spring made so it has a little tab sticking out like that, and then that can locate in the top part here, like that. That holds it securely in place when it's all compressed down, and obviously this other part just goes into the bottom, and that's the part that I use the forceps for. It's just easier to, when you try to shove it on, it's quite hard to get it where you want it to go, so the forceps help a lot. In terms of separating the base from the lid, you just snap them out like that. There's two little in the ends here. There's two little holes. They're made with a 3mm ball bearing in the design, and then the actual ball bearing, the 3mm ball, is buried into this halfway into these little hinge parts here, so they stick out there. Now then, what else? Oh yeah, magnets. So they're 6mm by 3mm magnets that I'm using, but any 6mm magnet will fit in here. It's just a really snug fit. When you take your support out, obviously you want to print this that way up. When you take the support off, clean the hole up as much as you can. I use a round file like this. Just get a round file in there, and oh, there you go, it's on the magnet. I get a round file in there, clean it all out. It's just to clean the lip of it up so that the magnet can press in nicely, and you don't need any glue on those at all. They're just shoving nicely. If you're having difficulty shoving, you can use something solid to get it up in there, and the same goes for same is true of the lid. Make sure, actually on the lid, make sure you don't use anything thicker than 3mm, otherwise it'll stick up on the magazine and it won't catch on the action as it goes in. So make sure you use a 2 or a 3mm deep magnet on this side. Although I have made it so that the channel for the magnet is quite deep. So that's it, a part really. Nothing else to say about it, just those bits there. To make this spring, obviously you need I use 22 gauge piano wire, and I basically have a M12 coach bolt in a cordless drill in a vise, and then I've drilled a hole in the end of the tip of the shaft, the coach bolt, and I run it in reverse and hold the wire down, and it winds on. It makes these so what happens is, you get big sections like this, and then you just cut off 12 or 13 windings for whatever you want to do. I generally use 12, 13 is good as well then. So putting it back together, so put the lid over there for a moment. So this can be a bit fiddly. I tend to put the spring in first, this way, this end in there, Oh, and also, obviously you'll notice, because this goes through the base, just there. Okay, oops. Okay, so that's in now. And then when it's actually in, the nut goes in the bottom as well, and the nut kind of holds it in place. It's not that of a tight fit, so I'll slide it on the desk like that. Then you get the top, and you look for your little section there, and it's quite hard to get, but when you get the hang of it eventually, because you don't want to pull it out the bottom. So see, there you go, he's gone in now. That's it, he's gone in now, and then you might put it down gently, put your screw back in, sorry, your nut rather, put your nut back in. Now then, before we put the biscuit on and tighten him down, we're just going to get something like this just to lift, because there's a little stopper at the top of there that holds your pellet in place. And actually, I'll show you the way that works as well. Do I have one? Oh yeah, I have one here. So on the inside of the rotor, there's the holes on this side, and there's like a little cup section each side to cup the pellet or slug into place. There's a big channel around here, and that big channel runs over this little sticky up part. I don't know if you can see that there. Let's get it on. You can see. Gets it on. It's on that little sticky up part there, and then basically when the each pellet goes round, it kind of holds the one side of the pellet, or this side, or the slug, and then the other side presses it against it. Anyway, this one's in now, so let's carry on with assembly of this. Oh, there it is. Peg. Right, so okay, that goes round. So that's one, and you can test it just by holding it there. That's not really enough force, not for heavy slugs. So you put it, go over again, lift it over that gap there. You have to try and make sure the spring doesn't pop out while you're doing this. Well, that's good enough. Make sure it'll go all the way round without binding up the spring. Now that's perfect. So let's put the nut back on the bottom. Okay, that's not quite straight. Okay, that's straight. That's in now. Right. Okay, that's in. Biscuit back on the top. Right. Little bolt. This is oh, where's it go? It's all 4mm. This stuff is. That's a 12mm long bolt. That's kind of suits these magazines. And then you tighten him up. Give him a bit of welly, not too much. Doesn't matter how much you tighten it up. It won't tighten down on the rotor, so that's all good. Yeah, that's there. Then the lid just goes on, just snaps in like this. The way I do is put one side on, hold it tight, and then force the other side on, and that's it. The lid's on, and it kind of locates all nice and neat on this side. You can see it opening and closing, and that's good. Yeah, that should work well for 40 grains again. So there you go. Oh, and also when it comes off your printer, what I tend to do is the boarding file set is just clean this surface up, because depending on your printer, it may leave some support. You've got to put support under here, obviously, but it may leave some support in there. So I like to clean it all out and make sure it's all nice and smooth, and make sure don't use a rough file, use a nice smooth one. Get a nice surface on there, and just give it some that way, give it some this way, and make sure there's a bit of filament there. I know where that's come from. There we go. Get rid of that. This is one that I did today, so it's not quite finished yet. Okay, there you go. So that's all good, and that's it. And then just make sure, obviously, that this isn't protruding out the bottom, because that will catch on your frame on the rifle. That side obviously can't catch. And the beauty about these magazines, unlike the FX magazines, they stack. You know, you can, because there's no unlike these ones, these magazines that have a little thing lock sticking out. If you try and stack them together, they don't. They kind of don't kind of sit nicely, and these things get caught up. But these don't. These just stack beautifully. So that's my 30 cal one, and there's a 22 cal there. So although the magnets don't seem to, and also when you're putting the magnets in, pay close attention to the orientation of the magnets, because if you force them in and you've got one back to front, it will repel when you do that instead of pull it together. I tend to put the top one in, put the other magnets on it, so I know it's the right way around, and put a little mark on it, with a felt tip pen, and then I know I'm supposed to see the mark then when it goes in. So that's about it for now. I'll stick this on Cults so that you can see that too.